On tonight's Cartoon Review Pie Days, Pie Guy reviews a very unsettling episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. But first, here's your host, Freaky Fred.
Hello, dear children, I hope you are well. Gather around, there is a story to tell. Unfortunately, this story does not end well. It's about the time I was naughty. This story is about a dog named Courage, with fur so purple and so full of furage that it beckoned me and seemed to encourage. I just knew I couldn't help being naughty. I'll let Pie Guy tell you the rest. After all, he is the guest. And furthermore, he is the best at telling stories about me being naughty.
Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here. What do you think of when I mention the show Courage the Cowardly Dog? Most likely it's the sometimes nightmarish, sometimes heartwarming, but always bizarre characters of the week. While the show has had an entire rogues gallery of nightmare fuel, I stand by the theory that one character, above all others, is one of the creepiest things ever put in a cartoon. Aside from the violin girl or the trumpet fetus. You know exactly what I mean if you saw the show. Anyway, the creepiest character's name is Fred, and it's a name that I deeply dread. His inner monologue is sometimes in rhyme. He wears a disturbingly big smile the entire time. He shows up in nowhere on a bus one day to give his Aunt Muriel a visit, not to stay. However, if he has his way, he'll get to be a bit naughty. Alright, I'll cut out the rhymes and just review the episode normally. Nostalgia Critic did it better anyway. So Fred shows up in nowhere one day to see his Aunt Muriel. As he rides the bus in, he has an internal monologue to the audience about how he is sometimes naughty. Meanwhile, Eustace is trying to fix the bathroom door, which gets stuck in the locked position when it closes. As he does, he warns Courage that Fred is a freaky barber. Courage imagines that Fred will be some horrifying creature, but as Muriel opens the door, he sees that Fred is just a human, if not a really creepy-looking one. We get more witty narration from Fred, who describes Courage as a doggy dog, like dog he smelled. Courage spies a bracelet on Fred that reads Home for Freaky Barbers with a phone number, implying that Fred escaped from some freaky barber mental ward. Courage tries to warn Muriel, who shushes him. Fred goes to the bathroom to shower and freshen up, and Eustace, being the jerk that he is, locks Courage in the room with Fred. Eustace then leaves to get tools to fix the door. Courage is terrified as Fred just stares at him smiling. Fred eventually tells Courage about how much he just loves hair, and how he sadistically shaved off the hair of his pet and former love. As he does this, he prepares a terrified Courage to be shaved. He then proceeds to maliciously shave Courage with creepy music and dramatic camera angles to add to the deranged scene. Eustace, by the way, is goofing off at the beach with no intention of coming back and helping Courage. Courage eventually gets the bracelet off Fred and calls the Freaky Barber Institution. By this point, Courage is shaved completely naked aside from his tail. Fred tries to calm him down by saying that he wouldn't shave his tail because that would be weird. Yeah. Two strong guys in uniforms finally bust down the door and take Fred away to a padded truck. Fred gives final narration assuring that he couldn't be happier, but he'll miss Courage. And that's it for the story. It is deceptively simple. It's also incredibly complex when you get down to the character of Fred, and he is what makes this episode incredibly interesting and terrifying to watch. I absolutely love this episode. It plays on fear of the unknown, fear of the mentally deranged, fear of being trapped in a place with someone who you have no clue what they are going to do next. In the end, we know very little about this Fred character. He smiles a lot, articulates himself really well, and has this bizarre fascination with cutting hair. He's obviously a send-up to Sweeney Todd, which is a story about a barber who murders people. Fred is seriously creepy, and not because he's violent or angry. The creepy thing is that there is clearly something off about him. Why does he have this sick fascination with hair? And if Courage didn't stop him when he did, would he have done something much worse to Courage? In the flashbacks, when we see his pet hamster and his ex-love, they're in picture frames, implying that maybe they're not around anymore for one reason or another. Interestingly enough, although we see them in picture frames, when he talks about the third character, who I didn't mention by the way, who he shaved, that's in regular animation, and it's at his barber shop. So maybe it implies that he couldn't resist the urge to be naughty in cutting hair, but he could resist the urge to murder? Or maybe he's not a murderer at all. There's evidence to suggest that he is doing something disturbingly worse, or there's evidence to suggest that this cutting of the hair is the substitution, the kids show substitution that is, for something truly horrible. I mean, look at these scenes and tell me they're not a metaphor for murder or something even worse. And it's almost creepier for the fact that he doesn't have this malicious intent in killing you or doing anything horrible, just that he wants to cut your hair really, really badly, and he can't resist. The show uses a lot of devices to provide atmosphere to the episode and to amp up Fred's creepiness. I mentioned his smile, but the fact that he rhymes a lot, the fact that he narrates a lot, the fact that his voice is very eerie, the fact that there's a lot of really weird camera angles, the fact that Courage is freaked out of his mind the entire episode, even more so than usual, the fact that there is creepy children chanting in the background during some of the scenes. It's all very creepy and very atmospheric, and that is something that this show can do better than any other cartoon out there. Oh, and let's not forget his repetitive use of the word naughty. The way he says it just sends chills up your spine. Also, the word is perfect because it implies that he knows what he's doing is wrong on some level, but he cannot prevent himself from doing it. That is what's even creepier about the character, is that on some level he knows what he's doing is wrong. And the whole part about not shaving Courage's tail because that would be weird, there is no logic to that whatsoever. You are dealing with a truly psychotic person who is somewhat self-aware but not in control of his actions. And one of the best parts about this is that Fred never shows up again in the entirety of the show's run. We never see him. We will never know if there's something else that he's doing that's horrible. We will never know if this is the extent of his crimes. We will never know anything about why he does what he does. He will forever remain a very creepy enigma. And one thing is certain, Fred is a truly horrifying, unsettling, and memorable character. Pie Guy rules, out. Well, that was a fun story, wouldn't you agree? I have no regrets, as you can see. Courage was fine, ignore his plea. It's not that bad that I was naughty. So come to my shop, I'm open for business, especially if you have hair full of frizzness. There's nothing to fear, don't be so listless. I'll probably never again be naughty. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Remember to like this video if you like the video, favorite this video if you feel like favoriting the video, subscribe if you really like Pie Guy's reviews, and leave a comment if you have an opinion about this episode. Join us in the next Cartoon Review Pie Days next Friday night.